Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. My name is Justin. Today, we're going to talk about the C8 Corvette Z06, the deliveries taking place, which gives us a lot more information about the car, and of course, some performance numbers. But more importantly, we're going to talk about the potential reliability of this car. Now, we actually have something to base this on this time. So let's jump right into it. All right, guys, so as you know by now, a bunch of different YouTubers and even some non-YouTuber consumers out there have been taking delivery of the C8 Corvette Z06 in all kinds of different variants. So we have just the Z06. We also have a couple people taking delivery of the Z07 packaged car. But what it really comes down to is now we actually have some people with the car in their hands, and they're able to give us a realistic, real-world interpretation of how awesome this car is and what the reliability is going to be like, believe it or not. So even though no one has put 100,000 miles on this car just yet, we are still able to get little snippets and little snapshots of what the reliability on this car is going to be like. In the beginning, everybody was worried about the fact that this is a flat plane crank engine, and typically those don't have the greatest longevity or reliability, but in this case, it looks like we might actually be wrong. So we're going to talk about all this stuff, guys, but first we're going to start with a little bit of a repeat of a previous video, and that is Car and Driver referring to this car as the best Corvette ever. Now, we talked about this in a video about 2 weeks ago whenever Car and Driver initially did their testing, but they have just put out a video talking a little bit more about it and showed some really awesome B-roll of the car, and again talked about how this is the best Corvette ever. In their testing, they also managed to hit a quarter-mile time of 10.5 seconds at 131 miles per hour, which is really, really impressive for this car, especially considering Amelia Hartford did the same thing with her car, and GM says that that's not actually the quarter-mile time for this thing. The quarter-mile time for the Z06 is supposed to be 10.6 seconds. So either GM underrated this car, or these guys are just able to get some really, really crazy real-world numbers with this car. Either way, I'm not complaining because it sounds like this thing is going to way over-deliver, and that's always a great thing. Now, what's even better about all this stuff is the car that Car and Driver actually tested was a standard Z06 with no Cup 2R tires, and it was the 100-pound heavier hardtop convertible version. So it was all of the things you don't necessarily want for the best possible top speed and the best possible quarter-mile time. And they still managed to beat what GM says this car is capable of. I will link their video in the description down below just because it is a really awesome review. And like I said, they have some really cool B-roll shots of the car. They have a 70th anniversary Z06 in carbon flash black, and of course it looks absolutely gorgeous. But if you don't want to watch it, I'll sum it up in a couple words. So words taken directly from their review. It was such a glowing review that these words are going to really put it into perspective how awesome this car is. They call it a quote-unquote truly special machine, and of course the best vet ever. They go on to say that the thing I've always enjoyed about the regular C8 Corvette is how easy it was to drive quickly. That car, through a combination of its mid-engine setup, its steering accuracy, and its electronic sophistication, it was very easy to drive at speed. The same is true with this. It's just the speed is so much higher. I haven't even mentioned the fact that this is a convertible, and it's not even the fast one, quote unquote. When talking about the fact that their car that they're testing doesn't even have the Cup 2R tires, he says that will go even faster and have more stick if he were to have those Cup 2Rs. And he says that based on the fact his car does not have those Cup 2Rs, that he can't even imagine what it would be like basically to have the Cup 2Rs whenever the car performs as well as it does without them. He finishes up by saying, "It's funny to imagine Chevy engineers and test drivers sitting there looking at their Ferrari 458 and thinking, you know, we could do this, and we could do it for less." So I think that pretty much sums it up, guys. But like I said, check out that link in the description below for more information on their review. Moving on, we have another piece of information coming to us from the YouTuber Speed Phenom. He recently picked up a Z07 package Z06 at the Corvette Museum and drove it home. So from Bowling Green, Kentucky, all the way back to California and everything in between, he is over 3,000 miles on the car and now needs new tires. So as you guys can imagine, the Cup 2Rs don't last very long, and they're also not very cheap. Now, Speed Phenom is probably one of the only actual owners of the car right now with this many miles on his car, so it's kind of a little bit of an indication as to reliability, but we have more about that coming in a second. He's got a couple thousand miles on the car and hasn't had any major issues with it other than the fact that it needs new tires now. But the big reason for that is he actually ran over a screw, and as we know, the soft compounds don't last that long. So for any of you out there who have Cup 2s on your C7 Corvettes, you'll know the Cup 2s are not cheap, but the Cup 2Rs are even less affordable. So right off the bat, he talks about the fact that these tires are going to cost him almost $2,700, and that's just for the tires. That does not include mounting, balancing, any kind of alignment that might be needed afterwards. That is just the compound. Now, personally, I've been looking for new Cup 2s for my ZR1, and the cheapest I can find them is around $2,200 to $2,300. So these aren't actually that much more, but they're still a significant expense if you're looking to buy this particular car and daily drive it. So again, tires aren't cheap. We already knew that, but with how much mileage Speed Phenom has put on the car, he is definitely going to be one of the ones to watch for reliability long-term with the car. But on that topic, we're going to move on to the next bit of information, which comes to us from our friends over at the CorvetteBlogger.com, and it is a owner of a C8 Corvette Z06, not a YouTuber, just a regular guy, and he does a quote-unquote water test to show how little vibration actually comes from the flat plane crank. Now, as you guys know, the flat plane crank engines have a reliability issue typically, and it is directly connected to how bad the vibrations are in that engine. Now, it appears to me that GM has figured this out because this particular water test from this person shows that there are next to no vibrations coming from the engine, which is really, really impressive. So a user named John006 took delivery of his 2023 Corvette Z06 convertible last week and did a simple test with a glass of water to show us what kinds of vibrations we can see with some engine revs. Raising the hardtop convertible into the service position, John006 was able to place a glass of water on his engine cover and then gave it some revs. He didn't get super close to the 8,600 RPM red line with those revs, but as you can see, the vibrations were minimal. Now I'll throw a clip in here real quick from mid-engine Corvette forum just so you guys can see there are next to no vibrations being produced from this engine. So as you saw there, guys, it is very Jurassic Park-like. I don't know if you guys know that clip or not, but whenever the water is ripply, it's because you got some vibrations. There is none in that glass right there. So pretty impressive for the heavy vibration engine and the heavy vibration aspect of a flat plane crank engine. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. So this is a good thing and a good indication to its reliability. So between Speed Phenom putting a lot of miles on his car and this glass of water indicating that the vibrations may not be as bad on this engine as initially thought, it looks like this thing could have some good reliability in the long run. Now, moving on from that, we also saw another YouTuber, Stradman, take delivery of his Corvette Z06. Now, he also has a Z07 packaged car, optioned to the gills, and he drove it home from Pennsylvania. So he took delivery about 2.5 hours from where I live and drove it home. The car looks awesome. The car sounds awesome. I'm sure he has some crazy things planned for it, but the big thing that really goes to show how crazy these cars are right now is that someone already offered him $283,000 for the car. So he paid around $173,000 out the door for it, and someone offered him $110,000 more than he paid so they could have it right now. Now, as you guys know, the warranty issue with the car, you're getting no warranty if you purchase this car from somebody who has purchased it within the last 6 months. So if you go up to Stradman and he decides to accept your offer of $283,000, you now just bought yourself almost a $300,000 Corvette that does not have a warranty. So that's pretty scary, but obviously it doesn't matter to some. The people who have the money, they're going to buy the car regardless. They're not really going to care too much about the warranty as seen here. So it just goes to show these things are hard to get and they are hugely in demand. The last piece of information comes to us from Road and Track's Performance Car of the Year competition, where Matt Farah gets behind the wheel of the car and takes it around the track 3 laps to give us his take. Now, obviously, again, we are getting almost nothing but glowing reviews. He says multiple times throughout the video that the front end grip on the car is absolutely insane, and he really seems to like what he is getting into with this particular car. Now, he did also review the base C8 whenever it first came out in pretty much the same exact fashion here. He really did like the car, but after he drove it around the track, he got out and started talking about it and had some unfavorable things to say initially. With the Z06, it doesn't seem that way. It does seem more like he is 100% impressed. So it does sound like this car is going to be pretty awesome. Now, as you guys know, all of the reviews so far have said almost nothing bad. Everything from the car's reviews early on here is all glowing details. Now, as long as it stays that way, we have a winner on our hands. But when things are brand new, typically people seem to be more impressed with them, and as time goes on, they lose that love. So we'll see what happens in the future, but for right now, even Matt Farah, all the guys over at Car and Driver and Road and Track, they're all saying really good things. A lot of the people who don't have any stake in the game are also saying really good things about the car, so I think GM has hit a home run with this thing. To put it into perspective, Matt Farah calls the C8 Corvette Z06 an even better Ferrari 458 Speciale for 1/3 the cost. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. So if you liked what you saw, please smash that thumbs up button. Let me know you're liking the content so we can keep creating this kind of stuff for you. It helps the channel and I would greatly appreciate it. If you guys have any questions about the content, leave them in the comment section down below. I'm always looking to get into a conversation about this car, so please leave me your comments down below. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I'm going to have loads of content like this coming you're not going to want to miss. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload.